Office Hours live stream where I go live every single Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time to talk all things claims, careers, coffee, and all kinds of other cool stuff. I'm your host, Josh Fisher, and this stream is brought to you by Crew Talent Group, the greatest claim adjuster recruiting group on the planet. If you're tuning in, jump in the chat. I'd love for you to say hello. And if you enjoy this content, do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me more than you could know. And if you're in claims or you want to be, connect with me on LinkedIn or send me your resume at www.crewtalentgroup.com. I'd love to hear from you. Now it's time for the show.
Welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome back. It is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. Hello. Took 1 week off. Was off last week. Working hard, but took 1 week off from the show. We got a new setup here. We got a new OBS setup. Caleb says hello. Good morning, Caleb. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining. Hope you're having an awesome day. We're live on LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook here today. Shout out to all the TikTok viewers. You don't get to see the fancy screen. Put a couple links in the chat. Claimsrecruiter.com. That's my website. crewtalentgroup.com/newsletter. Go ahead and sign up there if you want some weekly insights, what's happening in the claims world. But yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm coughing here. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. I go live every single week. My inbox has been blowing up. My DMs have been blowing up, especially on LinkedIn. If I have not gotten back to you in the last couple days, I apologize. The inbox has been going crazy, but this live stream is the best way to get a hold of me. I'm getting to the point where I can't take meetings with every single person that reaches out. I would love to. There are not enough hours in the day. I appreciate you all reaching out, but this live stream will happen every single Tuesday. And so if you want to chat, this is the most accessible I will be ever. You want to ask questions, you want to say hello, so that's what this is all about. My goal here is to help 100 people in the year 2026 find jobs in the insurance industry. So share knowledge, share things that I'm seeing, that I'm hearing. I also want to provide a place or a platform for other people to join in, tune in, and talk about what they're seeing in the industry. Yeah, I love claims, I love insurance. This has been an awesome career for me. This podcast is brought to you by my company, Crew Talent Group, the greatest claims recruiting company on planet Earth. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you're in here, James is in the chat saying good morning. Good morning, James. It is a beautiful day out here in Portland, Oregon. I got a good 2-mile run in this morning. Right as the sun was coming up. Beautiful day. So yeah, let's get right into it. Little new setup this week. A couple new little segments I'm excited about. So let's get into it. Segment number 1, we're going to talk about goals of the week. So if you've got goals, I love goals. Actually, before I do the goals of the week, I just read this and I want to read it here. One of my favorite books, The Daily Stoic. Some days it just hits you hard. Here's the Daily Stoic. Before we get into the goals of the week, I found this fitting. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but as a part of this, it says, there is an old saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. True. How you handle today is how you'll handle every day. How you handle this minute is how you'll handle every minute. And that just got me so fired up reading that. I truly just relate to that on every level. That was yesterday's Daily Stoic. It wasn't even today's, but I got so fired up reading that. And it's so true. And that's what I'm looking for in people doing or trying to match people with companies is how you handle today is how you're going to handle tomorrow, or how you handle a task you don't like is how you're going to handle a task that you do like. So it's all about mindset, doing hard things in life, challenging yourself, living in the uncomfortable atmosphere. What it's all about. So that got me so fired up today. I wanted to share that with you. But yeah, goals of the week. Drop your goals in the chat if you got some cool goals this week. Talking to you, TikTok. My goals, I got 2 goals this week. Goal number 1, keep the clients happy, baby. Let's do it. And that means a bunch of different things right now. I got candidates starting. I got a couple people starting jobs June 1st, so getting ready for that. I got a couple people starting jobs on June 8th, so getting ready for that. Doing some licensing, making sure all the paperwork's done, background checks, all that fun stuff. I'm taking care of all that stuff. Another thing is filling some roles, working on some hot jobs. So sourcing candidates, trying to get people for interviews lined up. I got 1 open job right now that will not be open for long. We'll talk about that here in a minute. So that's my goal number 1. Again, drop your goals in the chat if you got them. We got Get Loud 2504 Adjuster Insights in the house. Check out Adjuster Insights if you're an adjuster, especially if you're an independent adjuster. Go check them out. They got a Discord channel. They're on Facebook. Really cool group of people. Couldn't recommend them enough. Thanks for tuning in, Adjuster Insights. Goals of the week. My second goal of the week was a little more personal, not as much work, not as exciting. I'm trying to run 32 miles this week. I am 7 weeks out from my marathon on the 4th of July. I think I'm a little sooner than that. We are in prime time training. It's been a not great training block. Dealing with the foot. I'm hurt. I'm not injured. Hurt, not injured. We got to run 32 to 35 miles this week. Ran 5. Did a squat workout yesterday. So we got a lot of miles. We got 30 miles to run. Yeah, doing a long run of 16 on Saturday. A lot of miles to run. We're still on track, though. We're going to make this happen. We're 7 weeks out. The next 7 weeks of my life are going to be incredibly difficult. Gonna be a hard 7 weeks, though. So, yeah, send some good vibes my way, I guess. I don't know what else to say about that. But those are my goals of the week. I think it's important to have goals, long-term, short-term, whatever, work-related, not work-related. So if you got some cool goals, if you're working on anything, I'd love to hear it. Let's put it in the chat. Hear you winning. This is another new segment. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from people out there that are winning, people doing cool stuff. So if you are doing something cool, if you want to brag about yourself, if you want to lift yourself up or someone else up, send me a DM, reach out to me. I'd love to hear about people, listeners of the show, or just friends of the show, winning out there. So a couple people out there winning this week. Super excited. Joanna, congrats on the new job. Congrats on the new job. We're clapping. We're getting stoked. That's what it's all about. Joanna, congrats. Someone winning out there. Friend of the show, friend of Crew Talent Group. Allie, congrats on the new job. Let's go. Let's go. Let's get amped. Congrats on the new job. Taylor, congrats on the new job. It's been an awesome couple weeks. I've been off a week, but oh my goodness. Congrats on the new job. Let's go. And then finally, we got Michael Lombard. Lombard Trucking on Instagram. Check him out. Is an Iron Man as of last week and is going to be a father. Absolutely legendary human being, individual. Congrats, Michael, for completing that Ironman in Jacksonville this week, but also congrats on being a father in the future. That's pretty exciting news. Caleb's goals of the week: wrap up tornado claims in Purvis, Mississippi. Call all the firms I've worked with and let them know that I've relocated to St. Louis. Y'all, if you're an IA firm out there looking for someone to run your claims for you in St. Louis, reach out to Caleb. St. Louis is a very difficult place that I've found to find adjusters in the past, and it seems like they get hit over and over with hail and tornado storms. So hailstorms and tornado storms. Hail and tornadoes. A lot of claims in Missouri just in general. It's kind of in Tornado Alley. They get a lot of severe weather. similar to like Arkansas, Oklahoma. So if you're an IA firm out there looking for a very good claims professional to run your claims, look no further. Reach out to Caleb. Just one of those spots I see all the time in forums, or I've always just had people reaching out to me. Hey, do you know someone in Des Moines, Iowa? It's like Des Moines, Iowa. Like there's just nobody there. Nobody in Des Moines. South Dakota seems to be a very difficult place to find people. North Dakota, top of Minnesota. St. Louis is just a very difficult place to find people. There's some, and then it's like Redding, California, Bakersfield, California. We need someone in New Mexico. Those are the hardest places. It's almost been 10 years, 9.25 years of recruiting for the insurance industry. Those have been the most fine. Property adjustment. So that's the cool stuff we got going on this week. Here you winning. If you're winning, if you're doing something cool, if you got a new job and have some good news, whatever it might be, I'd love to hear from you as well. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus in here. Shout out to all the viewers out there on TikTok. I just see people joining. I don't know what that means. I think I got maybe like 2 people watching on. Focus. I don't know what's going on. Who cares? You're not watching for my face anyways. That's segment number 2, Hear You Winning. Segment number 3, a little bit of market pulse. So I got a couple things I have prepared here. Want to share kind of some things that I've been seeing, some things that I've been hearing. Well, I'd love to kind of hear just general too from other folks what you're seeing, what you're hearing in terms of the market. But I got 2 articles here, so let's pop it over here. We'll go to this little fancy screen share. I found this article really interesting about State Farm paying hail claims. State Farm is the largest property insurer in the country, especially for personal lines property. So that's why I'm interested in what State Farm is doing, what's happening with State Farm. But really interesting, State Farm actually paid out $5.6 million in hail claims last year, which to me was interesting because it's actually higher than 2020. So this article came out, kind of talking State Farm, following State Farm, news, forums, a lot of legislation going on about State Farm. State Farm pays out a lot of claims. I know that there's a lot of hate online about insurance companies not paying claims. The reality is that State Farm paid $5.6 million in hail claims last year. It's a lot of claims. So yeah, they're getting sued right now, but it's kind of interesting. I find this interesting because from a just general perspective, and what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing from people is that the work for property adjusters so far in 2026 and also in 2025 was not what it's been in the previous years. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and I want to talk about that. But I find it really interesting that State Farm was actually up in hail claims, and it kind of talks about which states. Texas, pretty big increase. Missouri, large increase. Oklahoma was down, but I mean, still like a lot of claims. You know what I mean? That's 300,000 in claims in 2024, 250. So a lot of money in claims still going out. What is this? $5.6 billion in claims, and this $138 million in claims. So $338 million in claims in Oklahoma 2020, or $267 million in claims in 2025. Yeah, sorry, that million is just one, so there's $5.6 billion in claims. I think I misspoke earlier. They're paying out a lot of money in claims, much more money, $600 million more than the previous year, but it seems to be slower. And so that's kind of what I wanted to touch on and talk about is why is it slower what are we seeing? I think part of this is it's hail claims, and it's not just hurricane claims included here. I think if we saw the same graphic for hurricane claims, we'd obviously see a little bit lower. Wasn't much for hurricanes last year. But the flip side of that, I think, is what we're seeing is AI and technology, not just AI, but technology in general, really dominate this space right now. So the second article I've got here, the Claims Journal, and this is basically talking about a report that came out from Crawford. Crawford and Company is a large TPA, third-party administered claims company. They hire a lot of adjusters, a lot of claims professionals. So they came out with a report, basically 9 trends that they're seeing in the market. So if you have a minute, take a look at that report. Really interesting in there. But one of the things that we're seeing over and over again is AI driving more claims automation. We'll see more straight-through processing of low complexity. And so what does that mean for adjusters? I think we're seeing it, especially on the property side, for low complexity claims, such as those hail claims we're just talking about. Sometimes they're lower complexity claims than maybe a hurricane basement gets water coming like that, or it's a little bit lower complexity than a backup sewer drainage claim, right? A straight hail on a roof, probably the lowest complexity claim there is in terms of property insurance. So again, this is coming from Crawford, not me, but I'm seeing it too, and I'm agreeing with that. And why I'm talking about it is seeing this whole AI driving more claims automations, processing. Increasingly sophisticated AI technology makes it so that some of these simpler claims will pass through all decision gates to auto approval without any human adjuster involvement. This prediction also foresees adjuster training shifting to a need for AI literacy, interpretability, and judgment in direct use of AI. And that's what I find most interesting, because this is very consistent with what I'm seeing as a recruiter. There is not going to be a point in time, anytime soon at least, where the AI just handles claims, unless we're talking about like parametric policies, which we could do a whole episode on. There's not going to be just checkbox go. There's going to need to be human judgment. Most states require a license for to be making coverage decisions. AI robots are not licensed adjusters. They cannot make decisions. They can help make that process easier, but they cannot do all the work for you. So we're seeing some of the jobs market seemingly slow down for some of these low complexity things, but we're seeing the job market, I would say, increase for some of the higher, more complex type claims. And the skills that people need to do these jobs, right here from one of the largest TPAs in the country, is saying AI literacy, interpretability, and judgment in direct use of AI. They are looking for these skills. And so if I'm an adjuster right now, or if I'm trying to be an adjuster, these are some skills that I'm trying to hone in and develop. Am I getting better at some of these tools? When Xactimate pushes out a new tool where I can take my phone and measure the room and do that for me, I know that most adjusters out there can still measure a room with a tape measure and go in an Xactimate and draw it up. And right now it might take less time to do that. This new tool may have quirks and may be weird, but people and carriers and companies that are hiring claims professionals are looking for the people that can adopt some of these tools to make their jobs more efficient, more effective. So maybe it pays off to be early adopters of some of these products, even if they don't work right away. And contrary to what the big forums on Facebook say, these are really cool tools that work. You know, they're starting to come out. They're going to have bugs at first, but that's what companies are looking for. And you see it here from Crawford. You hear me talk about it all the time. I think it's exciting. I think that it's changing the way that claims are happening. And I think change is scary, especially for people that have been in the industry for a long time. But I think the people that are going to adopt these tools, that can work with the technology, that can make it work, people that are going to win long term. And it's only going to make you more marketable, I guess, in your job search and your career, and give you more growth. And so what I'm trying to say is, like, work with these tools. They're really cool. They're not all gonna work right away. Some of them are gonna stink, but this is what companies are adjusters right here. Cool report. Go check this report out. There's a lot more in here. Not gonna go through all of it, but pretty interesting stuff. So it's the market pulse, claims volume. It seems like we're getting some claims right now. It seems like there's been some weather across the country. So if you're a property adjuster, things are looking up. But what I will say is I see this every day, and I've kind of transformed my business to focus in is I'm not as much really in the property market as I used to be. Can I staff for a company that's gonna pay me to find them property adjusters? Absolutely, I could do that in a heartbeat, but I'm just not seeing as many companies reaching out for that type of stuff. And so a lot of my business and what I've tried to do is target some of the more complex, especially on the auto side types of claims, where I'm seeing the market is shifting. So that's where I've tried to transform my business, and I'll say it's worked. That's the types of jobs I'm getting, commercial auto jobs, getting like general liability is market right now. AI certainly has not caught up. So higher complexity, general liability, product liability, excess, surplus, construction defect, all these types of lines just work, and there's a skill gap between the people that have the skill jobs applying. So if I was a brand new adjuster, if I'm in the industry right now, that's why I'm positioning myself, is to learn some of these skills. That's where the jobs are at. I think that's where the jobs will continue. Someone commented, Jamie with Reserve commented yesterday about, I had a post that kind of talked about this, and he said he's hearing the same thing, and that he talked to a bunch of people at a conference recently about MGAs popping up. Every one property MGA, he's seeing 10 commercial transportation MGAs popping up. And I see the same thing on the TPA side. You have all these pop-up TPAs, and they're all going after commercial transportation. Super hot market right now. So if I'm an adjuster out there, that's something that I would kind of position myself toward if I can. Awesome. One day at a time. We're rocking. We're rolling. This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream. Thanks so much for tuning in. Segment number 4. We got a hot job alert. I don't know if you can hear this. Got my trap horn button. I still, which is crazy to me. This will not be open very long. Looking for a commercial auto adjuster. Wait, what did I just say? This is where we're seeing it. Okay, I have a job. Really cool TPA I'm working with right now. Hiring a commercial auto adjuster. This is kind of a looking for like an early career professional, couple years of auto experience, someone that can hop into a desk, work a full desk of auto claims, mainly PD, physical damage, so it's not liability. These are mostly straightforward liability. You're not going to have to, there's no coverage concerns. It's more just estimating damage, getting insured. So this would be great for someone who's worked some personal lines auto that wants to break into that commercial. Again, exactly what I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks. Perfect opportunity for someone, with a couple years of personal lines auto experience, looking to kind of break into commercial. Really awesome TPA, tons of room for growth. 4.9 on Glassdoor. Find me another TPA out there that has a 4.9 Glassdoor. I'll wait. Remote. So yeah, this is if this interests you, if this sounds cool, send me your resume through talentgroup.com. You can apply right there. We'd love to hear from you. This will not be open very long. So hot job alert. Now let's get into it. This is the meat and potatoes of the live stream. Basically, open invite. My office is open for the next 35 minutes to talk about whatever is out there. So if you've got questions about job searching, whatever you want to talk about, the floor is totally open. My DMs have been buzzing this week, and so kind kind of taken some of the DMs that I've gotten and turned them into questions for the show, and I'll answer those. But if you're out there tuning in and you want to know more about working in insurance, the types of jobs that are out there, whatever, we'll talk about whatever. Drop it in the chat. Say hello. Love to hear from you. So this is the claims office hours live stream on Tuesday. We do this for an hour. Awesome. Coffee. Got my strawberry protein. Water. Trying to stay fueled out there. Running 35 miles a week also means I pay attention to every calorie that gets in my body. What's up, TikTok? See people popping in. We got Joey. We got MK Lee. We got user 787. What up? What up, TikTok? This is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. Again, the coolest topic that you could ever talk about on TikTok is jobs in insurance. That's what we're talking about. Insurance claims. I got laid off and I cannot get traction. What am I doing? So, I've been hearing kind of a variation of this question a lot recently. So I want to address it. First off, you're not alone. It's not you. I just want to show empathy, I guess, for people in this situation. It sucks. And the market can be volatile sometimes. There's a major TPA that just lost a large account. Talked to a number of adjusters that worked for this TPA, basically, and a program that they were working on that hired many adjusters for this particular program decided to no longer use a TPA and go in-house and hire out their own claims team. So nothing that you're doing wrong. You have nothing to, it's strictly a financial kind of like executive level decision. Nothing that a frontline, adjuster, auto adjuster could have prevented. And so yeah, really tough situation. Sucks. So first off, take care of yourself. Important to remember that there's more to life than just section on application. A resume is not like a reflection upon your life. It's just business. And I know that's tough to say or tough to hear. You're gonna get through this period, a short period of your life. You can do it. But let's talk about tips and things that you. First off, I just want to say you're not doing anything wrong, right? It is life. It's unfortunate. I hate to see it happen. But things that you can do. So one of the things that you can do is reach out to me if you need a resume template. I have a totally free resume template that you can use. Basically, it's got some frameworks and it's got how I like to see resumes, what I would prefer. I've seen thousands, hundreds of thousands of probably resume in my career. So I basically built a resume that I think is best. And I think there's a bunch of other content creators that do a lot of just resume work. And so I've leaned a little bit on some of them, but I've created a claims specific resume that I think is like the best out there. And so if you need a resume that please reach out to me. I will give you that totally. Nothing for me to help you get going. So first off, you really want to optimize. It's a really interesting thing I saw on LinkedIn yesterday, and I thought this was kind of an interesting take on it. But somebody said, and I'd love to hear other people's opinions on this. So put your opinion on this if you've got something. But you know what? One of the things we hear a lot about is like the green banner, the open to work banner. Where do I fall on that debate? I don't really care. I'm not going to not hire someone or not talk to someone because they're green work. I think it's a hiring signal, and so as a recruiter, I like to see. But something that I saw that was really interesting. You hear kind of the comparison where people will say, "Oh, there's a house on the market and it's been on the market for 3 months, the first thing that you're going to think is what's wrong with it. So that's kind of the argument against the green banner. And I'm not going to say that I agree with that, but I certainly have heard that from people. So I'm not dismissing that. I think everyone's got to make their own decision for what they think is best in that situation. But one really interesting thing I saw on LinkedIn was someone said, instead of using the green LinkedIn banner, what you can do is start a consulting company and put that you're doing consulting. And, you know, if you need to start an LLC, you don't even necessarily need to do that. But that's one way you could kind of get around that green banner without having like a large gap on your resume, and then do some consulting. You don't have to charge for it. Talk to your friends, you know, just kind of see what's out there in the consulting world, try and get some consulting gigs, but then it's something that you're doing. It's a job. It gives you a little bit of a purpose, and then it removes that gap. So I thought that was interesting. I'd love to hear if that's worked for anybody, if people have done that. I've certainly seen people do, right? I see people all the time, and I've never really seen that written down as like, you should do this. So I thought that was really interesting perspective. So if you're like uncomfortable about a green banner, that's another thing that you could potentially look into, is like do some consulting, or put on LinkedIn that you're doing consulting, look for some clients in the meantime while you're job searching. So kind of an interesting concept, not a bad idea. Something new that I've kind of seen recently. So in addition to that, what I would say, this is kind of just general job seeking advice, but there's so much noise in terms of applications and job boards, job postings, and a lot of it is just that. It's just, so the best way that you can get a job and get that introductory conversation is to connect with other human beings. And there's multiple ways that you can do that. I personally recommend using the internet, because I think the internet is such a powerful tool that everybody has access to. Everybody out there in the United States in some way, shape, or form. So I recommend using the internet to try and connect with people. And what that looks like is not sending a DM to a hiring manager saying, hey, I saw that you have this job. I'm really perfect for it. You should hire me. It's DMing that hiring manager and saying, hey, I've been following you for a while. I'm looking for work in this industry or whatever. Do you have any tips for me? And try and engage a conversation. Not necessarily start it off with saying, I want something from you, but just try and start a conversation. And maybe it'll lead to an interview with them. Maybe it'll lead to them referring you somewhere else. Maybe it'll end with them giving a bit of information as to someone else who's hiring. But that's what I would recommend, is set goals. So you still want to apply to jobs. You still probably want to look at, don't look in Indeed. Go on companies' websites. Don't do the easy apply. Actually apply on a company's website. It's the best way to get opportunities. Even if you find it on Indeed, go to their website and apply. But reach out to people at companies that you're specifically targeting and try and engage conversation. Set goals weekly where it's like, your goal doesn't need to be apply to 25 jobs. Your goal can be have 5 conversations this week. So that's one thing that I'd highly recommend, is like the old fashioned way of it was like, you would walk into the store, you'd walk into a storefront, and you'd try and shake the manager's hand and fill out an application. And in a way, it's kind of the same thing. Trying to get in a conversation with, ultimately get hired. But first step is having a conversation with a human connection. That's what sets you apart from all these applications. So that's one way. Caleb says, I have a consulting company. How should I present that on LinkedIn? I would say, in your circumstance, like, it probably is, your consulting, does that go hand in hand with what you're doing? That would be my question, is like, and I guess one thing that I see adjusters, especially independent adjusters, do on LinkedIn is they'll put like, I worked with the best IRS, and I worked with Eberls, and I worked with Renfro, and I worked with this. But I would recommend for adjusters just to put, you're an independent adjuster, right? Who's employing you? Yourself. you're not employed by the Best IRS. You're not employed by Eberl or all these other companies. They're contracting you to do assignments. So, like, if I was an adjuster, I wouldn't put 3 months here, 3 months here, 3 months. That makes you look like a job hopper. I would put, like, whatever your company name is, make up a company name, you know, or whatever. Most people have an LLC or some S corp, or I guess I'm not going to be your business. I don't know how that stuff works, but most people have like an LLC. If you don't, you probably should. But then you just put it like that. And again, I don't know how your LinkedIn looks specifically, but that's what I would recommend for independent adjuster. Put your company, put the years that you've been doing it. You can talk about the different types of claims or assignments or like notable hurricanes, storms that you there. That kind of goes hand in hand with some of like the consulting, is some of that information. Put that kind of in the. So, I don't know if you have like a consulting company in addition to the independent work that you do, but you could add them both if you wanted to, or you could just kind of put the types of consulting that you. It's a really great call out, because I think as an independent adjuster right now, and the slow couple years that we've had, it's really important for independent adjusters to know that you don't have to just do one thing. You can do you can offer different services. You can offer other lines of business. Go out. I know a lot of adjusters who have done estimating work. Different types of. As an independent adjuster, you don't have to just take assignments for one type of assignment. You can do different types of things. And yeah, put that in your company description. Another thing kind of highly recommend especially for independents, is creating some type of website, trying to drive traffic to website, some SEO, learning a little bit about that. It's super easy to create a website. You can drive traffic from your LinkedIn to your website. And again, kind of going back to like those different types of income. I think that one of the things that I've learned the last few years is as you progress as an adjuster, most people think about, okay, I'm going to go to the independent adjusting firm work. There's a select group of people out there that go direct to carriers and direct to TPAs and get. It's another, again, like line of income that I don't think a lot of people know about. It's going to require a little bit of business development, a little bit of sales, a little bit more contract type stuff. But it's another line of business. Certainly, a lot of times it's smaller regional carriers and but if you own an area and you do really well in that area, there are companies that will hire you out directly to run inspections on their or do expert witness type thing. So again, like, it's independent, this thing's evolving very rapidly, and so adding different services that you offer, different ways to make income is key. So hopefully that answered that question. But back to original question. File as an S corp, use it for all my 1099. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and that's smart. That's super smart. And you probably know more about like the S corp, LLC. I'm an LLC. I've been reading about some of the S corp stuff. I need to get really some solid tax advice. But yeah, that's smart. And again, if you're watching and you're wondering about the independent adjusting life, like, that's what Caleb is doing is very smart. Is not just putting all his eggs in one basket in the independent adjusting world, but doing some other things, doing some freelance estimating, doing consulting on the side, building his book of business wide. Very smart way to diversify your income, especially in slow years when you don't have hurricane. So very smart. And yeah, check out building the website, man. It's fun. I paid someone like $100 on Fiverr. Build me a website. It was a guy in like India, and it looked jank when it first sent it over, but basically I just needed the bones, and then I could go in. It's pretty easy. And just basically ask ChatGPT to help me build it too. You can vibe code a website super easy. Maybe you've got one already. That you can buy like domain names for like $20 a year. But it adds credibility to what you do. It adds some like search engine. Like if you're trying to work with carriers directly, they're gonna look at you online. They're gonna look at your online presence. And, you know, building that like business development standpoint, I think is fun. So more things that you can do to help you get work. I would say the biggest thing right now is to network with people and embrace human connection. The internet's one way you can do that. Another thing I recommend to people all the time is to reach out to their networks of people they already know. If you're out there job searching, I know it's like it seems cringy or like weird to like reach out to people that you know and say, hey, I'm looking for a job, but reach out to your network and reach out to the people that you know or people that you've worked with in the past, even if you haven't talked to them for a while. Try and rebuild some of those relationships and use that as kind of a launching point. Again, you're not trying to reach out to someone and get a job every single time, but you're trying to start connections. So think about it that way. Set goals in terms of setting connections and conversations. Don't set goals in terms of I need 3 interviews. Set a goal that's I want to have 5 conversations with someone this type of role. Yeah, it cost me under. Yeah, check out Fiverr. Fiverr's this website you can go and like you can basically like say like write out your project and then you set up a domain with Google Business. Yeah. So basically, I use like Hostinger. So I don't know, like the domain is through Hostinger, and then I use WordPress basically. But yeah, Fiverr, you can like basically write out what you want, and I would just be really, really explicit with what you want. Go find a website out there that like you want to copy or very similar. Be extremely explicit with how you want things. The information that you're gonna put in there, like the words in that, they're gonna screw that up. The language barrier is never gonna be right. But if you can get like the bones, I'm telling you, ChatGPT or Claude can teach you how to do it very easily. So if you go to my website, I literally paid someone like $150 maybe to build that, and then they built like the backgrounds, the flow of it, some of the the boxes, the fonts and things like that. And I went in there and basically changed all the words, and it was so cheap. But yeah, it was. And honestly, at this point, like you might be able to just get Claude to do it. I don't know if you've messed around with Claude at all. Claude seems to be way more powerful than ChatGPT types of thing. Check out Claude. You could probably build a site. Honestly, WordPress is easy enough. If like you really wanted to, you could do it on your own. But I just found it easier to have someone on Fiverr do it and me mess with it. But yeah, it's pretty. Then there's these just rabbit holes like search engine optimization and now AI optimization of like when someone searches I need a claims adjuster or like recruiting services, how do I become the first one that shows up or like the top 5 ones? So learning some of those things is really interesting to me. Trying to get traction into my site that way. But yeah, as an independent adjuster, you know, you're really you're not just an adjuster, right? You're a business owner. And part of that is, you know, a lot of people say like, oh, I'm trying to get jobs. You're not trying to get jobs. You're trying to do business development. You're trying to drive traffic. You're trying to drive work. It's business to business sales. It's not traditional applying to jobs. It's business to business sales. But if you have to have that mindset, it opens up a lot of things. I'm just starting my job hunt. Where do I begin? Again, that's the question I get multiple times a week. Where do you begin? Where do you begin to your job hunt? Is you begin in your everyday duties at your current job or what you're doing. This may be unpopular or different than you hear elsewhere, but the job hunt really starts in like developing your skills. So if you're in college, what are you doing in college to like develop your skill experience? If you're in a job right now, what are you doing right now to develop your job's skill? Dancing. Are you doing anything to take on new projects? Challenge. So that's where I would start. I know that it's not where most people start, but that's where I would start. If you want to advance, think about the job that you want. Start doing that job where you're at, or as much as you can. I know it doesn't work that way, but that's where I. Back to Caleb. I use Claude for, and there's a delay on this. So that's not perfect. You can kind of see it. I use Claude for a book inventory. Yeah, dude. I used Claude. I purchased a year's worth of Claude maybe 3 weeks ago, and it just depends on what you're using it for. For an average human, just going on Claude and like asking about the weather or whatever, vacation. It's like ChatGPT probably the best in terms of like outcomes and efficiency. Claude is on a hold. It's like so advanced. What I'm doing with Claude, I mean, so cool. I do all my marketing on Claude. Basically, I built out a whole new workflow for me where it built me a worksheet. And so every Sunday I fill out this worksheet. It's like 30 questions. It takes me about an hour to fill out. It requires some research and things, and it basically builds the podcast. And Claude builds me a weekly plan for all my social media channels, different videos to make, different posts, how to do it. It's basically I build the content in the worksheet, and it basically says, here's how you package it. So it's not AI generated content necessarily. It's coming from my brain, but it helps me. Things is like literally this graphic that you on the TV that was built in Claude. I didn't have to touch that. I used to go make all those in Canva. It took time. I literally clicked a button, popped up all these graphics on the screen. It's crazy how powerful. But where do you start your job hunt? Started on Claude, man. No, I'm kidding. But no, that's where I would start my job hunt. Is you need to build your skills. And what are you doing right now to make you attractive that other people would want to hire you? So that's where you need to start your job hunt. Building skills and experience that make you hireable, make you attractive in the job market. That could be getting certifications. That could be getting licenses. That could be work professional designations. That could be taking on projects or trying new things in your current job. And so that's where I would recommend starting your job hunt is audit your skills, your experience, what you're doing. Little gap analysis, jobs that they look for, and see add to them. The best time to look for a job is when you have one. I know that's not all the case, and it work like that for everyone, but that would be my advice to someone who's trying to start a job or trying to hunt. Look at the jobs you want. Look at what requirements they have, and how do you bridge that gap. General rule of thumb that I would say to my clients and also to a seeker, that I'm typically hiring for 80% of the job description. Right? If somebody has 100% of the job description already in their job, that means they're moving laterally from one job to another. And that's not always the best case. Can that work? Yeah, it can. There's certain situations. And if you've worked at the same job for 6 years and then you're the same job somewhere else, I want to know like what's motivating that. So I'm looking for someone ideally that has about 80% of that, and other 20% is kind of the things that you can learn. But most people, when they're hiring, one of the things we target is like natural growth and then also mindset. So some things to think about. You don't have to be 100% qualified necessarily to apply for a job, but 80% is kind of a good. So yeah, try and build those skills. Okay, then let's talk. I mean, resumes are important. I know they're not fun, but it is an important part of just communicating. It's like your billboard or your little piece of marketing that you're giving to someone. And the goal of a resume is again to get the interview. It's not getting you a job. No one's hiring your resume. It's how the world works, for better or for worse. How we decide who we're gonna bypass that by human connection, and I think that's a great way to do it. But a lot of times resumes are how you get interviews, and so hit me up if you need a resume template. Happy to provide that free. And then also, again, human connection. So join organizations like Rise Insurance Professionals. Join organizations like your local claims organizations. Meet people, talk to people, talk to vendors even. Sometimes the vendors have some of the best information. Company or restoration contractors sometimes are really, especially the business development people who go to these events, they know what's happening at all. They know who's growing, they know who's not growing, they know who's hiring people. So make connections, network with people that are within your network already, reach out to old coworkers, old friends, old hiring managers. Start doing it. It's a lot of work, and also give yourself grace throughout the process. It's hard work, especially if you're out there looking for work and you don't have a job. Remember to spend time for yourself. Looking for a job can sometimes feel like a full-time job, and so it's important that you still deserve breaks, you still deserve to do fun things, you still deserve days off. And then talk to recruiters too. Reach out to recruiters in your industry. Oftentimes we kind of understand the market, understand what pay bands, things like that, who's hiring, what segments of the market are better than others. So all those things. Again, this is the Claims Recruiter Office Hours weekly live stream. The water. Still got some coffee too. Every single Tuesday we go live for an hour here in my office, Portland, Oregon, and we talk all things claims, careers, and totally open. Chat is wide open. The idea here is to help 100 people get jobs in the year 2026. Right at the end here, we'll do a little update. Chat with that. Say hello. Lorianne, we got Robert, we got Adam here on TikTok. What up, TikTok? Your favorite insurance, claims adjusters, careers podcast, live stream, whatever you want to call it. We go live here every single week, every single day. If you want to say hello in the chat. If you want to learn more about insurance careers, you want to learn more about working in insurance, now is your time. Happy Tuesday. Okay, what else we got? How do I write a resume? Or I don't have enough time to go through a resume right now. If you want a resume template specific for claims, send me a DM. Send me a DM. I will send you a resume template free of charge, where I've outlined what I think a perfect resume looks like, a couple frameworks on how to make word things. There's a lot of things about resumes. Nobody's good at writing resumes because you don't do it very often, right? If you're an expert resume writer, it probably means you're writing too many resumes. So I don't expect people to be very good at writing resumes. Some of the things that I've seen recently that I will say, like, I want to put this nicely, say this in like an empathetic way, but what recruiting has become is like a resume black hole. And one of the reasons I sit here and just crap on Indeed.com is because these traditional job boards have become a black hole. And what I mean by that, you put $200 sponsorship dollars of Indeed.com. Not only are you just lighting that money on fire and throwing it into a trash can, But what you're doing is you're paying for clicks. You're paying for clicks. You're not paying for qualified clicks. It doesn't matter who's clicking on that. So what happens, this company's like, oh, I really need applications. We're not getting any applications. So we'll pay $600 for Indeed.com. And then they get like 200 applications. And then some poor recruiter has to go and filter through all those applications. And most of the time, like 98 to 100% of those applications have nothing to do with the industry that they're working, have none of the qualifications or skills or experience that they're for. And it's just easy apply. It's people going by. They're not even reading the job description. So what I will say with resumes is not give us a reason. Say no. And there's been research on this. The average recruiter looks at a resume for 8 seconds. No more than 8 seconds. You put together, you spend hours and hours, you have a 6-page resume. No one's reading that. We're looking at your resume for 8 seconds on average. And typically, for me at least, I'll speak to how I do it. Your goal is to get me to spend more than 8 seconds. And here is what I will tell you will make me not spend more than 8 seconds in your resume is if you have obvious misspellings, if you have obvious grammatical errors, if your formatting looks like it was made in a third grade classroom, if your bullet points don't match up or it's totally out of line, very, very basic things weed out probably 80% of the resumes that I see. And I'm talking like egregious thing. But if you're applying to work at an insurance company, you're applying to be an adjuster, you are basically saying, hey, I have the skills and experience to make decisions on behalf of a billion-dollar corporation. And at times these decisions can be tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you can't figure out or get a free template online or go to Canva and get a template again for free and make it look professional, there's no way that you're going to succeed in a role that requires you to write complex reports. So 80% to 90% to even more of the resumes that I see are just like egregiously bad. And sometimes it's people that have been in the industry for 20 years. It's like, blows my mind. But that's I'm not going to go super deep into resume writing right now because I don't have enough time. But if you want, you can send me a DM. I will send you a free resume template. You can also go to my YouTube channel, Crew Talent Group on YouTube, and I have like a pretty lengthy video that breaks down what I'm looking for in a resume and what I would recommend. And then also there's a lot of really good content creators on LinkedIn literally specialize in resume tips. So check out some of those. Matthew Wohl, WOHL, is one of the best. Need resume tips. And Caleb says it has less than a few. So my career, I have hired one from Indeed. And it was in the last 2 years, actually. So that's kind of fun. But yeah, it's not effective. It's a time suck. I think the average Indeed posting gets over application. My wife's work a whole bunch. It gets me so fired. Yeah, I don't know. If you're having a good time on LinkedIn, you know, nobody is. Okay, it's top of the hour. I'm going to sign off here. But before we do that, I just want to do a quick update. We're going to start doing this at the end of every show, where we're at on the road to 100. I prepped this last night. And yesterday was a good day. So we're actually going to update this. I can't update that one. I can update this one. Let's go at 20. We are at 20 as of yesterday. Congrats, Taylor, on the new job. Super stoked. We're at 20. I'm hoping to get to 100. That's my mission. It took me 2.5 months to get to 1. And so this is all since February. It was like a little bit scary there. But I put this out there. The original reason that I started this live stream was to ultimately try and help people get jobs. And that's not people that I'm placing directly. Just literally anybody and anyone that's out the world that sees my content or sees my posts or anything that I make, and if it helps you 1% get better by 1%, or help you in any way in your job search, I want to hear from you. So please let me know. Send me a DM, send me a message. But counted 20 so far in the year 2026. That means we've got 80 to go in 7 months. So pretty cool. Honestly, if it was just one person, I think it would all be worth it to me. But we're up to 19, so that's pretty cool. We're up to 20. Up to 20. So pretty cool stuff. Appreciate everyone joining in, especially you, Caleb. Thanks for joining in today. Lots of comments. Good conversation. Best of luck in your search here, looking for some work. Moving to St. Louis. Go Cardinals. My grandpa was a huge Cardinals fan. Yeah, that's been the Claims Recruiter Office Hours live stream. If you like this content, I have a weekly newsletter that I'm starting. You can subscribe to that by going to crewtalentgroup.com/newsletter. Otherwise, I will be here next week, next Tuesday. Can't wait. We'll see you then. Have a great week, everybody.